Hi, Rich Carrubba for bowlingball.com. Let's talk about how to crank a bowling ball. Well, cranking a bowling ball simply means to impart a strong rate of revolutions on the bowling ball by means of a quick and decisive releasing action. That's simply what the term cranking refers to. We're all fascinated with seeing that big, powerful, strong, sweeping hook on a bowling ball and entering the pocket at a steep angle of entry in order to really mix those pins up, get great pin action and all that. But it's not as easy as it appears to do, and it requires a lot of practice because it's much more difficult to control a crank delivery as opposed to a smooth rotation at what we call a stroker release or an in-betweener type release, more of a down the boards type angle of entry. Now, the closer you can regulate your hand to releasing the ball at the same moment as your hand enters the sliding foot will help you regulate a consistent release, whether it's a crank release or it's a stroker type release, a more conventional type release. So one of the things that you want to do in developing a crank release is the placement and positioning of your bowling hand in the bowling ball. If you use a full fingertip grip, which is going to enable you to get the best and most precise type releasing action. If you're not yet up to a fingertip bowling grip in your bowling ball, then cranking the bowling ball probably won't be the right thing to do. The conventional release doesn't allow it to happen easily. Now, some bowlers won't even use a thumb in the bowling ball. They'll just use two fingers, and they'll really be able to get a high rate of revolution as they let it go. Again, very, very difficult to control. So we recommend if you want to move toward a crank release that you see power players using that provides that strong, sharp hooking motion on the back end of the lane, you start with the ball sitting flat in the palm of your hand when you're aiming, possibly even tilting the ball toward the outside edge of your hand. If you visualize a clock dial and your fingers are at the bottom at 6 o'clock, maybe even get them over to 7 o'clock if you play around with that. So at the moment of release, we want those fingers to go from 7 to about 4. 7 to about 4, very quickly. That's enough rotation to tilt the rotating axis. And if you get your thumb out quickly, and you have a decisive sweeping releasing action, a quick releasing action with a good deal of ball speed, then you'll be able to crank that bowling ball, get a lot of revs on it. Now, it sounds easier than it is to do, but you try not, there's some things that you don't want to do trying to crank a bowling ball, and that's over-rotate your bowling fingers beyond the 3 o'clock position or 4 o'clock position on a clock dial. That's if you're right-handed. It would be 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock if you're left-handed. Because once you over-rotate too much, you're in danger of your whole arm turning over the top of the ball and your hand going over the top of the ball, and you reduce the effective release motion. The other thing to watch for is so your bowling thumb doesn't turn too quickly before your hand enters the release zone and your thumb points to your bowling hip. If your thumb's pointing to your bowling hip, you've already rotated around the ball, and you might get a pretty good amount of revolutions on the ball, but the full effect of a crank release, getting the fingers to rotate around while your thumb exits and while your fingers uncoil, is going to be greatly diminished. So you want to keep that hand behind the ball as long as possible until you get right behind into the releasing area, and then the fingers do their job, a quick turn, a quick snap of the release. Some bowling coaches will even teach not having your bowling arm fully extended as you reach the release area. Sometimes the elbow is slightly bent up, which allow the hand to stay underneath and cradle the ball a little bit more and then uncoil at the moment of release. It's very difficult to do. You should do it under the supervision of a coach. Make no mistake about it. Trying to just crank a ball and create power and a lot of hook doesn't mean you're going to be a great bowler. It requires a lot of understanding about the game. If you're already a crank player and you're having difficulty releasing the ball, again, check your coach. Get with your team. Work with a good local bowling professional in the area and make sure that you work to develop a consistent delivery, one you can depend on, and one you'll learn how to line up and make good lane adjustments. Well, I hope some of these tips help you, and we thank you for taking some time to visit bowlingball.com. Feel free to look at our site. There's some wonderful products available you can purchase, and just simply follow our easy-to-order online instructions if you find something that you want to purchase. It's really pretty easy. And once again, thanks again for visiting bowlingball.com.